Hey everybody, and welcome to another RCT2 review. Today we're looking at Thrill Point. This is a park built by BelgianGuy that won the coveted Spotlight Award on New Element with a great score of an 86.5. And we are lucky enough to be joined by BelgianGuy himself today to help us walk through the park. So welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I feel like we've been trying to set this thing up for what feels like all 2 years since you've released this park, haven't we?
Yeah, something like that.
But you know what? It's a long time coming, but better late than never. So
Yeah.
let's take a look at this thing. So it's it's aged really, really well as I've been looking through it before we started the whole thing. But how long did this one take you? Because you're a pretty fast builder. But how long did this whole park take you?
To my standards, it took quite a while because this saw multiple iterations in the sense that I started with a few layouts which I wanted to do as a set of designs, but I didn't feel like the layouts were particularly strong enough for designs themselves, so I decided to go with a park. And the vision changed quite a few times along the way. Like, first I wanted to do a standard amusement park, but knowing myself, I figured that would bore me at a certain stage because of I just enjoy theming so much that to keep myself occupied and motivated, I really had to do more than just generic architecture and themes.
For sure. I think it's always interesting to see kind of how everybody treats that differently here.
Yeah.
So I've been kind of scrolling around while you've been talking here, looking at some of the context here. It's a nice, very European, Belgium, Netherlands looking entry here. Is this set in a certain space, by the way? Like, is this in a certain country?
It is supposed to be in Belgium, and a lot of the buildings that you see are actually all within 5 minutes walking distance from my house.
Amazing.
You most of the buildings you can actually find on Google Maps. So
love all the context inside. It always makes them feel a little more lively. Also, like the sail things and the little things on there and everything. It looks nice. But let's take a tour of the park. I guess let's start here with the entrance. I love this little diorama. This is a fun one with the coasters and everything. Kind of reminds me of like the Cedar Point skyline.
Yeah, that was the idea, to have like the main coasters like be some kind of a decorative element on the parking lot entrance. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you get this great diagonal entrance using the nice diagonal lettering here and all that. A lot of these must have come out fairly late into your development because I don't think some of these things are too old. Some of the half diagonal stuff, some of all this.
Most of it was already there, especially the letters I think was already there, but along the way stuff like invisible colors and stuff like that really helped a lot to get this where I wanted it to be. So
I do find the way this game is changing now, it kind of does make it hard almost to build a full park because it takes so long that the game is changing just as fast as you can build it. So it's almost like one of those things that by the time you're done building, the stuff is outdated and you kind of have to go back. So
exactly.
Good on being able to actually finish the thing and get to that point.
Yeah, especially with the this park was released just before the advent of all the new track pieces, like the diagonal upward turns and everything, the zero G rolls. And while it's apparent in the coaster layouts, for a modern park, it has that nostalgic vibe of how the coasters are built.
Well, and I think it's nice that they're all consistent because there's sort of that in between that we're in right now where we've got them for some rides but not the other rides. And eventually we're going to get it, I would expect. But in the meantime, it's a little bit challenging. So,
exactly.
Good arrow coaster here to start with. Nice kind of classic look, of course, here. Corkscrews over top of the pathway and the car ride. I like that. And sort of standard layout while still being custom. Always nice.
Yeah. Like with the arrow as well, like if I would build that today, like stuff like the diagonal breaks and block breaks would make it so much easier instead of having to use the lift hill piece to get a block section in where I want it. So
yeah, always a little bit challenging there.
Yeah.
But so we'll go off to the first side here. So we got your kind of haunted land and Phantom, your big B&M coaster here. So this is a nice one. I remember when you first showed this one. This is a cool layout.
I
What
really
inspired
enjoy
this one?
that.
I see a little bit of like Katun and Phaeton and some other stuff in here. What inspired this layout?
The biggest inspiration was actually Montu, where I wanted to have that trenched looping and everything, and I tried a few different layouts, but the more I went into the Montu direction, the less it flowed with the entire area. So I just took elements from the inverts that I like and tried to put them in a way that made sense in the area without being unrealistic or unbelievable.
You got these great trenches here and everything. I love the interaction with the queue, just to being able to cross back and forth. That would be a really neat experience, I would think, to be able to walk across that as a guest.
Yeah, that was the aim, because I've always struggled in the past with inverted coasters for some reason. Like, they never clicked with me. But yeah, I'm really proud of this one because it finally clicked. So
for sure. And some good themed rides here. I love this little gravestone frog hopper type thing, the little kind of maze here, and then I see some Via Volta-esque
exactly
madhouse.
Yeah,
to be honest, I don't really think I've seen many people do a madhouse before, so this is...
Yeah, it's not peepable, sadly, but yeah, I just did the interior trick with the show building, basically.
I do wonder, it's one of those things, and I know you're into custom rides and hacking and everything. It will be kind of interesting to set up a kind of face-to-face, like, two-row dive coaster cars or something and see if you could make one of these things work. You couldn't do the theming, but at least you could have the motion.
Yeah.
But it looks really good, and I like the all the stuff you've got with it.
If you think about it, for that ride in specific, the thing that you would basically have to be able to make is the ceiling that rotates around, and I think you would need a lot of CTRs for that to be able to make it look decent.
For sure. And you got your nice little dark ride in here as well, and like the little diagonal game stands, and of course the scream and swing. So really nice there. I like the good changing of path in here. I always feel like good path texturing is always very nice.
Yeah, that's not
So as we go,
it's not easy to find a way to always have something that both makes sense and looks pleasing aesthetically. So
yeah, it's always a balance, and trying to get that exact thing. So as you go to the next area, we have a Skyline Attractions one here, which is kind of fun. I love the hacking for one, and B, to the fact that you did this, because in Timber Valley you also had a Horizon model, so now it's sort of a thing, I suppose, for your parks.
Yeah, it was one like where I saw the new elements on the single rail coaster and on the hybrid coaster, and I was like, with the right cars, you can really make one of those. And I set out to try it, and it worked. The only downside is I did not get it to go better than it desyncs slightly. I think every cycle it displaces about 2 or 3 track progresses. So that's the only downside.
Yeah, I see. It's already...
Yeah, I've not gotten it perfect, but like I didn't manage to get it closer. So.
That's not too bad. And we've been running this park for a little while, just talking here, so it's already kind of desynced itself a little bit, but it still looks cool. I love the sculpture here. That's neat. And the little bull riding thing here in the middle of the Yak Challenge. That's a fun one. All right, so tell me about the this whole combo here, because you've got a Vekoma Jr., you've got a Rapids ride and a GCI all crammed in here in one spot.
The main inspiration for this area was actually the lake at Plopsaland, believe it or not, because of the way the swinging ship was placed there, with the water coaster and Ride to Happiness. But I really wanted to make something that is like interaction galore. Like it's got 2 coasters, a few flat rides, the river rapids that all play off of each other. So the concept of that was very fun to try and make cohesive without it being cluttered. And yeah, I think I managed that quite well.
It is fun to see rides interact with each other to this extent. You know, you have the same body of water that you're sharing with the swinging ship. I love these kind of passing elements here on the Rapids ride. You got this nice little drop here coming along, and then the whole thing has got this great giant wooden coaster here as your backdrop.
Yeah.
You got some nice little realism elements here, your nice David arm and your backstage stuff here. Love all your the little naming of the staff and everything. I feel like that's almost essential in park building now. Like I really think being able to tell a story is super important.
Yeah, exactly. Like I got a lot of help from Mavericks with the GCI, in the sense that like the back of house stuff he is very knowledgeable about, because he worked for them, if I'm remembering correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So
he did.
Yeah, so I wanted it to be as correct as possible, because I had the people that could give me the information, so it would be lazy not to.
Well, that's the fun thing about this community, is there's enough people in the industry that have done different things that are sort of subject matter experts, so it's always kind of nice to be able to reach out to those kind of folks and rely on them for all this kind of info.
You being one of them as well, so...
Hey, I try.
The fountain of knowledge.
You know, I do what I can. So let's move on to the next little area here. I love the color, first of all, just because these sort of Arabian-esque type areas oftentimes can end up being a little tan and
dry,
brown,
dry.
And you're right. And you really did the color some favors here, which is quite nice. Nice vertical drop here. This one's good. One of the things that I like about this are the walkways around the corner there, because that's always been a bit of a challenge, I feel like.
Yeah, exactly.
You solved it pretty well, I think.
I actually got some help with the object creation for that, because I tried making them myself, but I just couldn't get them to line up properly, and I don't remember who did it. I think it was Ethan, probably, but not sure anymore. But yeah, somebody made those half diagonal pieces to really make sure I could make that correctly and that it looked good.
For sure. Yeah, it always helps to have that going well.
Yeah.
You got your big star flyer here and the nice boat ride under the this whole area, which is always kind of good. I feel like in general we lack good dark rides and boat-based dark rides and everything in this game. Like we don't see it done very often.
Yeah.
So it's always just nice to see one show up.
Yeah, but it's just the show building. Like I don't like doing interiors. So that was one of the things.
Yeah, I feel like you always have to make that choice of, are you going to do the cutaway? Are you going to do interiors like in full?
Yeah.
Are you going to do just the little peak in the building and remove the section of wall?
Yeah.
Or kind of just leave it like this where you just have a nice facade? And I think it's all of them are equally valid, but it's always just kind of a choice you got to make because you got to be consistent.
Yeah, exactly. And since it was the only real dark ride, bar the Valhalla one in the Viking area. I was like, yeah, I don't think this adds that much more to the park.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So we come here into Steam City, which is kind of a fun sort of steampunk-ish thing. I love
Yes.
the parachute tower here, and then we've got our kind of icebreaker-esque premiere here,
Yeah.
which is always kind of nice. I'll make this invisible so everybody can see where it goes.
It's funny that the source of the original ride is reviewing the virtual one.
Hey, you got my little airtime hills on either side of the launch. That was my contribution, so I'll take it.
Those look fun as hell on the POVs. I've not had the luxury of getting to Orlando yet. So I really look
Soon,
forward
hopefully.
to going.
Yeah, I mean, the idea was that as the ride picks up speed, because we were doing 4 launches, then each one of those hills is going to get progressively more and more and more and more airtime each time you hit it. So I just thought that would be fun. So this detail was one of my favorites in your park, I feel like, is the
pressure meter
dial here. Yeah, on the showing that's a pretty cool one.
That was actually something that I remembered from, I think, head-to-head 6 or 7, where I was on the team from Robbie with Tolzimir, and we also started a steampunk park, and he did something similar, and I was like, that would be perfect as a showpiece for that coaster. So shout out to him for the original ID way back in the days.
So ideas never die; they just kind of get on pause for a little while. I feel like until you can find a good spot to use it.
Exactly.
Yeah, lots of good interaction here. And I feel like in general, you did a good job kind of stacking things and creating that good interaction point with rides and pathways and things. Like I love this balloon ride right over top of your pathway and kind of nestled in here very nicely.
Yeah, the obvious main inspiration for this was Rookburg in Fantasia Land. And it's the reason why this area is so... cramped together. Like I wanted it to feel very dense, very stacked on top of each other, but still readable.
Mm-hmm.
Which was
Love
a challenge.
The custom gravitron.
Yeah.
Big motors there and everything. Yeah, it's definitely a challenge with the isometric because you got 4 views and that's it, and you can't change the angles.
Exactly.
So in general, you got to make sure that it's readable still, despite the fact that you want to stack things and make it super compact. So there's sort of an extra layer of stuff you got to think about in order to make it work.
And also just the process of building it is very difficult because it's so hard to see what you're doing and keeping an oversight if it's that close together. So that area was a real challenge.
For sure. I feel like a lot of times I build really zoomed in and then you zoom out and you go, whoops, that didn't work. Or I spend time building something and then zoom out and I put another building in front of it. And it's like, oh, geez, you got to think about sight lines a little bit before you get too far.
Yeah, that's a real difficult one with areas like that.
So now we get our space area here, which love the vehicle assembly building here with the big rocket on the side. This is a cool cutaway of your little drop towers in here.
With the starry sky and Mars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good little detail there.
Yeah,
it was on both sides.
That one was inspired by the Houston building from NASA.
Yeah, and then your little Kuka arm things here, the little robot arms.
Yeah. At first I had them covered because I think in real life a park would put that somewhere in a show building, but it wasn't visible enough if I covered it, so I decided against a canopy for the robot arms.
Well, that's not without precedent. Lego California has all their Kukas sitting outside, so it's it works, I feel like. So this is a fun one that I liked. The SNS 4D coaster, because I feel like we just don't ever see these in the game, especially in realistic builds.
Yeah.
What made you decide to do one of these?
Um, I kind of wanted to do something as a standout ride that wasn't too imposing, but still very unique. So, I wanted to do a 4D coaster for a while, but I never found a layout that I was happy with, and I looked at a ton of No Limits videos for some inspiration, and this was the end result. Also, again,
It looks great.
the brake run would be better and functional with the new pieces, because now it just flies
Yeah, you
through.
still got to use your imagination, I guess, and let it go.
Yeah.
This is one of those that I would really love to see new pieces for.
Yeah, me too. Like, this is one of my like visually, it's one of my favorite roller coaster types to have ever been built. And it's quite sad there's only 3 of them in the world. But yeah, if these would have new pieces, that would be really, really cool.
Mm-hmm. A good support structure too on this, because that's the thing that really defines these guys, is how beefy their support structures are. So I'm sure that took some time to be intricate in there.
Yeah, I did that in one sitting, the entire coaster, I think.
Good for you.
Yeah, that was 7 hours just on the supports.
Hey, amazing. You got to do it.
Yeah.
So I like this, little race area. So you get your little SBF race coaster here, which is kind of fun. You got even the same train and everything. So nice little recreation there, and then a good go-kart track. I love the use of the crunch here to make it very used.
The thing is, it's actually fully functional, but I didn't have it running because I did have one spot where the invisible tracks intersected and they would crash, and I just didn't get that.
So well. I think that's all right. Sometimes it's still looks good at least.
Yeah.
And you get all that here. So we get our Aloha Hawaii, little Hawaii area here. Nice kind of tropical section. The nice splash boats, and this looks good. I feel like the splash boats are one of those things that can be incredibly boring if you don't do them right. And this has got, for just a simple oval layout, you got really nice track layering. You got this little tunnel or arch thing going on here.
It's a very
looks good.
Basic ride, but again, how you dress it will determine if it's a good ride or not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can make any boring ride fun if you put some interesting elements on it, whether that be theming or lights or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. I love this little stage here that you get all the peeps set up for. I love the Jaws photo op, which is kind of fun, with the just using the custom vehicle there, or the expansion pack vehicle, I think.
I think it's a custom one that was ported from the expansion. But
there we go. Love this sign for Riptide, the surfboard in the sand.
That was a fun one to make. I think that was the first coaster layout that I settled upon.
Oh, this one here?
Yeah.
And this one, what did you base this one mostly on?
A mix of Fury and Behemoth.
It's a long ride, for the overall height, which isn't necessarily huge by RCT terms.
Yeah.
It's got a fairly long layout to it.
Yeah, but that also comes because you mentioned the height. I always build my coasters with a specific scale for myself. Like, in-game height is 2/3 of what it would be in real life.
That seems about accurate. Looks good. I think that one worked well. Then we kind of backtrack our way over here to the rest of the race area. This is kind of neat, having the little pit stop challenge there in the middle, and then your nice size accelerator coaster here.
Strada was also something that I feel like is, for as infamous they are, or the one that's still standing, sadly, you don't see many of these in RCT at all. So I was like, that's a challenge I'd like to take upon myself to get that to look good.
Yeah, I feel like you feel like you used to. It seems like one of those things that when these were sort of at their peak, you used to see everybody would put these things in, but you just haven't seen them for ages.
Yeah.
So you're right. It is sort of a type that you don't see very often.
Yeah.
I like the Thorpe Park inspiration here with the tire over the entrance and all the Top Thrill Dragster style roof and all that.
Yeah, but like, again, it's a very, very basic layout. It's just a top hat, a hill, and a brake run. But again, just how you do it and how you place it in the park and in relation to the rest can make such a difference. Like,
exactly, that's how you dress it up.
Yeah, like if you look at Cedar Point, where I kind of took the inspiration of how it was placed, it's dead center in the park. And in this sense, so is Slipstream, but it doesn't.
There you go.
It doesn't really block out anything to the point that it's obnoxious.
And I like this sort of kind of natural dirt with some of these little nice natural details on it underneath, because it's not like they're going to spend time manicuring this whole darn thing. So it fits well. And then, of course, we connect back over to this side and back kind of wrapping around to our thing. It's sort of interesting from a park layout standpoint that this area is kind of like the key area almost with the dive coaster, because you got to go through that to get to pretty much anything else.
Yeah, that was one of the decisions I made quite early on, that I did not want a park that was just a man-made lake with areas around it, because as efficient as it is and as realistic as it is, it's also quite overdone in RCT. And I kind of wanted the challenge of a park that was kind of divided by a river, and how that would work itself out if you do it correctly.
Well, and I think one of the things for me is I would be incredibly tempted to toss a pathway, over top here and kind of through to this side. But I like this because it feels almost like this park grew organically over time, and these areas kind of developed out and everything. And they, for whatever reason, aren't or haven't yet connected across to this point.
Yeah,
so
that was the idea behind it.
Your park layout is awkward.
Yeah, that was the intent. So it wasn't an accident.
It kind of has that Wallaby Belgium, or not Wallaby Belgium, Wallaby Holland feel like before the most recent one came in, where Goliath is sort of that weird dead end off to the side. And let's take a spin around too, because we already looked a little bit at the outside, but you have some good back of house context pieces that we kind of looked at a few times, which is kind of nice. I love the traffic and just all these little parts and pieces of farmland and other things like that, which is fun. And just all of these things that really make the place enjoyable. The little train here coming through.
Yeah, like all that with the train, it's a small snippet, but all of that is 100% correct of how the railways operate in Belgium, and the colors and everything are also correct with our national railway.
Love it. Love that attention to detail. It's always nice.
Well, I worked there, so it would be quite a shame if I didn't do it correctly. So
you got to have the detail, and that's the thing that I find interesting too, because every builder kind of has their own specialty or thing that they're interested in, and the details that if I was viewing this without you telling me, I would have no idea what that looks like, or that it's that incredibly accurate. But the thing is, you did it anyway, and for the people who are in the know, you can pick that up. So I love that kind of specialty detailing that you may pick up, you might not, but it's there anyway.
Yeah. Like some details or some jokes or some storylines that you put in the park are obviously for the general viewer, but some details are like just for yourself, and I think you can adhere to that as well, as you've built quite a few massive
Hmm.
parks as well, and some details are just because you care about that specific detail or piece of information that you want to have correctly in there.
For sure. So you've got a bunch of good coaster layouts in here. What's your favorite one of all these?
Probably the dive coaster, because I really wanted.
It's a striking layout.
Yeah, I I I love the model, but I don't like how most of the real ones are quite cookie cutter, and it's nice to
Hmm.
see that B&M is being more daring with their layouts lately. If you look at like Wrath of Rakshasa, that's testing now, and Doctor Diabolicals and everything. But before that, dive coasters were a dime a dozen, and
Hmm.
I kind of wanted it to have a signature element that I took from wing coasters, which is the second drop after the mid-course break.
Yeah, right
is
here.
is a wing over drop instead of the regular just going straight down again.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a nice feature, something unique that you don't typically see.
Yeah,
We skipped over this little coaster too, so I'll point that out. It's
credit's
a nice
credit.
one. You know it. That's great. So, you got a bunch of details in here. You got a lot of little bits and pieces and things. Do you have one that you're like particularly proud of, or something that you think a lot of people miss that they should see?
um, that's a difficult one.
I know we're going back 2 years now.
Yeah.
I, I do. I will say I do like stuff like this. Like I mean, it's not exactly a little detail, but like this hot
Yeah.
dog cart with the giant hot dog on top. I just think that's fun. The little burger on
Yeah.
top of this food truck
Um,
always looks good.
one, it's not really a detail, but it's a very deliberate choice. Where in the space area, I have zero to none of foliage. That was a very deliberate
Mm.
choice, where I wanted it to feel truly Martian and alien, and so I decided I just gonna do some rocks and a few small branches that are like a first step of life getting its first uh, its first steps on the
Hmm.
planet that you're visiting. Because for me it was a I tried it with foliage, and it really broke the immersion of the area for me.
Hmm. Absolutely. I think that's a good choice, and I like too that you have rock work and you have a lot of it, but it's not like really overdone
Yeah,
because I feel like it could be very easy to build a super
yeah,
tall wall back here and just cover this whole thing in rock work, and
yeah,
that just wouldn't feel like a realistic scale of rock work compared to what else you've got in the
yeah.
park.
Exactly. Like this isn't a universal type park. It's a highly themed amusement park.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely, and it's kind of got that original stuff. I love the diagonal
Yeah.
car right here, the old dragster that those were all over for a little while too, but I don't
Yeah.
think any of them are running these days.
So yeah, I really wanted something to fill the space in that made sense, but was also unique, and something that you don't see that often, both in the game and real life. I I don't know if there are any still left, or if it's one or two, but yeah, it's a cool ride.
Yeah,
And
I don't think any exist.
oh, that's even sadder. But yeah, I want it.
Yeah, it's a shame because they were kind of all around for a little while, or at least there was I can think of a couple offhand. But I don't know. It fits very nicely here, diagonally, kind of in this space. Like
Yeah,
it fills a gap that it feels like you had.
yeah. I first tried it just straight, but it didn't work out the way I wanted it in the area. So I decided to try and make it diagonal, and it worked out really well with a view bridge and everything in macro sense. I'm really happy with how that one turned out. So.
Yeah, and I don't think we've seen them on diagonal. I've seen a number of people do these in the game. Heck, I've done it way back when too, but I haven't seen anybody do it on the diagonal, so that's sort of a unique feature to it, which I like.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Functionally, it's exactly the same as it is on straight. It's just where you vehicle edit the cars to. So
exactly.
Technically, it's not much more difficult. It's just it opens up a lot of options.
Absolutely, and that is the good takeaway. There is some of these plugins are just absolutely lifesavers now for building.
Exactly.
So that's the park. We've got a pretty nice setup here. I think we said earlier, but I really like the park layout. It just feels very natural, like it kind of grew over time and expanded out. You got your river running through the middle, and I just kind of like how it all sits there. But I think this is probably got to be cool for you to still look at, because I feel like there's sort of one or two ways you can look at a completed park that, at least for me anyway, I either look back at it and say, man, there's so many things I wish I could have changed, I don't really like it, or you look back and say, actually, that was all right. The details were good, all the things in there turned out really nicely, and I would imagine you're probably on the second one of those things.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's nothing in this park that I'm unhappy with, even after 2 years. The only thing I've debated doing myself is going back into the park with the new track pieces and see if I can make it work in the coaster layouts mainly. But I've tried a few, but I kind of want to wait until the invert has newer pieces to make it easier and less jarring that the invert doesn't have them where the rest does.
Yeah, you want it to be consistent.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
That's the big thing. And right now we're kind of in that middle ground of awkwardness of having some of the rides that have the new pieces and some of them that don't.
Yeah, exactly. That's it's one of the reasons why I've been holding back on trying to do it.
Well, and you kind of made your jump here over to Planet Coaster 2, it seems, fairly recently. So are you intending to come back to RCT at any point, or right now you're just kind of vibing with Planet Coaster?
At the moment, it's only Planet Coaster, in the sense that I enjoy it, and it gives a lot of freedom because it's full 3D. I kind of miss RCT, but the times I've opened it up since finishing this park in particular and head to head, I've not been able to make anything stick that I've felt good enough about to have at it again. And since I'm currently just enjoying Planet Coaster, it's also, both games are very, very time sink heavy, and doing both is kind of hard. With family life, with a job, with everything. So I might come back to RCT, but I'm at the moment not yet.
Well, that's all right. I think it's you gotta play around, see what comes, and sometimes the inspiration just doesn't strike. And
exactly.
You gotta wait for it to come along. So that's I think we've all kind of dealt with that if we've been playing this game for a long enough time. But hopefully we'll see you back sometime. But it's cool to see the Planet Coaster stuff too. I can't get into it for me because it's just too much time and detail compared to RCT, which is also long and detailed. But it's all kind of hit or miss there. But thank you for joining us and going through the park. I think this is a fun one to look through. Yeah,
it really was fun looking through it again. It's been a while, so.
Well, very good. Well, if you all want to download the park that we've looked at here, I will put a link down below in the description to download this park. You will need Open RCT2 to view it. Leave a comment in the video here to let us know what you think of the park and your favorite bits and pieces. And also, if you have any parks that you'd like to see reviewed, let me know that as well. But that's everything for today. So until next time, thank you as always for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye now.